Hello everyone, my name is Gus, and today we have an interesting video. I feel like this piggybacks from the video from earlier this week. If you haven't seen that, I'm gonna link it up here. But 4 months ago, we released a video called Cave Diving to the Sanity Room and Beyond. And what you don't see from that video is the extensive briefing that Brian Kakuk gave us before the dive. Now, everything he talked about in the briefing, he actually covered in the dive. One of the things that I did is, while I was looking for content to release for the video from earlier this week, was I found the actual video of the briefing. I forgot that I recorded the whole thing. I should have included it 4 months ago when the Sanity Room video came out, but I forgot. So what we have today is, in case you're interested, I have the video of the briefing. It's about 15 minutes long, where Brian is walking us through every single step of the dive. And for those of you who are divers, you know that you get a dive briefing basically on the boat. If you're diving on the boat or if you're going cave diving or whatever, it doesn't matter. There's always like a dive briefing. Here's what we're going to do. Here's some safety information and all that stuff. You're used to it. I think when you do a dive briefing on a boat, it typically takes, I don't know, a few minutes or something like that. And they go over some details like this is the depth that we're going to go to. And, this is the turn time. If there's a time specified to return, all that stuff. They go through it kind of quickly. And then you jump in the water and go diving, which is what you're there for. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to how much detail Brian gives during the briefings. And I love that. And if you're a diver and you listen to this briefing, you're going to want to run through a brick wall. You feel so ready to go diving. You're like, let's do this. I'm ready. Let's go, right? Even if you're not a cave diver, you're going to want to go diving. And if you're not a diver, or even if you're a diver, I want you to try to remember as much detail as possible from the briefing, because we don't get to come in with notes. Even if we have wet notes, you can't just be diving with wet notes in front of you, in front of your face, the whole dive, right? You have to try to remember as much as possible. And I want you guys, if you have to grade yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, in terms of how much you think you remember from his briefing, I want you to comment down below and tell us how much you remember. So I don't want to make this intro too long. Let's go ahead and move on. Unedited, uncut briefing from Mr. Brian Kakuk for dive number 2, Sanity Room and Beyond in the Bahamas. Beautiful day here in Abaco. Day 2
I have the standard
of diving in the Crystal Caves.
but I just have the standard
And now we're gonna do the briefing. So
Well, those are apexes, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, Brian.
I told you I'm scared to put a gauge on there. I've blown up too many up. Okay, here we go. Sanity time.
Okay, guys. Very much like yesterday, we're going to see a lot of what we saw yesterday on the first dive, except for we're going to go much longer and much further. Yesterday we went through the Goodlands, eventually went through the hole, that restriction there, and got into the Goodlands and got ridiculously decorated. We went past the first set of jaws, and just past the first set of jaws was that cookie that said number 6, and that also said SMB Wonder on it. That's Steve Bogarts. He laid that line. We're going to actually tee off right there, and so there will be a couple of more tees on this dive, so we'll need to make sure you have enough markers.
How many?
There's going to be 1, 2, 3 more.
I have 6 total.
Okay, so we'll need 8.
Well, a couple years.
All right, so once we tee off on number 6, we're going to come around. We'll come to a series of restrictions in succession, very, very close together. They're only like 50 feet apart. They're not difficult or anything like that. The first one will be, I'm going to actually take one of your markers from you guys, and I'm going to put it in, because as soon as we go through the restriction, the T is on the left hand side, but we're actually hooking right.
Okay.
So I'm going to put it on there ahead of the marker, and then I'll call you guys through. As soon as you come through that first restriction, you're going to have to lay up on your side again and do a fly walk on the right hand wall, because there's columns on your left hand side. And that's what this represents right here, or excuse me, what this represents. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right there where that line bends is a series of columns. So you got to roll up and stick to the right-hand wall. I'll be waiting for you in that corner right there, and then we come through and we do the second restriction, and it's a perfect diver size restriction. So it's slightly tilted like this. It's an oval like this, but it's slightly tilted up on the left-hand side. And as soon as you get into about your hips, you're going to want to push off with the left-hand wall, make sure you're neutral, and come off of a ledge into this little tiny room. You don't want to be near the floor because there's a beautiful cascade of white silt on the floor. And the bubbles have knocked down little pebbles and stuff in it now, but there's when we first went in there, it just looked like a white blanket of snow. It's incredible.
Wow.
So we don't want any fingerprints or fin tips or anything in there, so you want to be neutral when you push off of that.
Okay.
Then immediately another little bend in the line, and then we're going to go through another restriction right here. This one is only a restriction because there's formations in the way, and so it's a roll up on the side and a fly walk on the left hand wall.
Okay.
Belly on the left. Again, one of the problems we have with this one is that when people get it and do that, their feet come up and there's stiles in the ceiling.
Okay.
So don't curl your feet behind you, keep them straight out behind you like this. And you're going to do a little fly walk. There is going to be one column on the left hand side, but you're just going to use that to actually help turn yourself. It's pretty big and sturdy.
Okay.
And then you move from there to the wall on the left side, and then fly walk, and you're going to fall down off the ledge, get neutral, and then you're just going to do a little shuffle kick past that area right there. You're going to shuffle kick past a bunch of formations that are right here, and then you're going to be right next to, come out into a much bigger cave right here, and that'll be the turn right next to Miho's mansion. There's an arrow on there's a jump off to the side. You'll see it'll be a yellow arrow, and it's got a little square box written on it with a red dot in the middle. That's a Japanese flag for Hitoshi Miho is a cave diver in Mexico, and he's come here a bunch of times. So we explored this part of the cave together.
Nice.
We're going to make a hard left right there at that set of double arrows, and then
And someday we'll have a Woody's mansion.
That'd be a big room. I'm thinking big discovery. Probably connect the ocean. Maybe thinking. I would like to.
all right, so we're back now that we're continuation of the map. We're back at number 6 through the series of restrictions. Miho's mansion right here. Then we continue on down this larger passage. There's going to be a series of columns right here, about 3 or 4 of them. One of them's already fallen over. Again, it's not a diver did it. The bottom eroded out from under it and just fell. So you'll see me flash them as we go through, and there's going to be one that I'm going to show you. The bottom is very eroded. We just don't want to touch that one. So you'll kind of roll up and pass through it as we go. Then we're going to come through a series of very delicate areas that are sort of like restrictions, but they're just because of the formations, they're restrictions. And as soon as we pass through the two just after those columns, we're going to make a hard left, and the whole cave is going to change the mood. It's going to be dark, earthy tones. There's going to look like the big columns are all covered with rust. They're going to be gray in color, grayish brown, with rust drips on them, and there's going to be like a whole wall of them that makes like a wall of these columns that are this big around. There's going to be amazing draperies that have a lot of tint from the Sahara dust. And so they'll be kind of pinkish reddish, and there's a series of beautiful draperies that came off of this wall, and then the wall dissolved away from behind it, so it looks like lace hanging in open water.
I kind of remember that.
Yeah. So you'll see me. I'll roll up in there, and I'm going to put my light up. It's
thin,
sort of
right?
behind,
They're really
super
thin.
thin.
I remember
They're
that.
translucent.
Yes,
You can
yes,
see right through them.
Wow.
But you can see the grains and the cracks in the crystal of it, like that. And so I'll show you those. And that's right before the big wall of those giant columns. We're not going to follow the line right here. We're actually going to cut kitty corner across this open space here, just because there's a couple of thin stalagmites, tall ones, that we can hit accidentally and break. So we'll kind of avoid that. I'm going to move that line one of these days. And then we're going to go, then now this area right here, right where we start ascending up into the Sanity Room itself, if you look down to your right, you're going to see holes, dark holes going down into a bigger cave. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find a way down into the deeper cave below it. It's a complete collapse. So the Sanity Room itself is a dome room. Okay, so what's happened is it was like this. There was a big cave developed underneath of that thinner cave, smaller cave. It collapsed and made this room bigger, and then stalactites and stalagmites have grown on that, and actually columns actually grew all the way up to the ceiling. But now the room is still subsiding, so the columns have broken away from the ceiling and they're flat topped like bar stools or something, and they keep going down. Now there's little stalactites on top of those. So we'll show you some of that stuff when we get into the room. But this room is just very, very old. We're going to hit a T as soon as we ascend up into there, and that's cookie number 7. So you'll see me go like this, and I'll also go like this. So that means it's to remind you of the song, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going to just slowly move through this room. It's not a very large room at all, but it just represents time. When you get in there, you just can't help but think about the amount of time that all this took and how many times it's happened over and over. You can actually see that in the formations. We're going to roll up to one of those big flat top formations, those columns, and I'll show you the top of it, and then I'll show you where it used to be mated to the ceiling. There's actually a mark up on the ceiling where it used to be attached, and so you can see how much how much this floor has subsided down since all of this happened. And then I'm gonna ask you guys, are you guys okay? Do you want to go a little further? And if I get okays from both of you, we're gonna leave the Sanity Room, go back down into just about 75 feet of passage, and we're gonna come down a hill, make a hard left hand or hard right hand turn, and then we're gonna go through this beautiful crystal tube, and it's all white limestone with a floor of cascading white crystal, and it's crazy. We'll go up through that. It's about 3 feet in diameter. And we'll go up through that, and that's where the next T will be. And there's a yellow arrow with a T, and I'll be kind of off to the side, and I'll make sure you guys see that arrow, and I'll say, okay, somebody leave a marker, right? And so you'll leave a marker. That'll be the last T that you guys mark. And then I'm going to shine my light through this little hole right here, through this little narrow section. I'm going to say, okay, guys, no more kicking at all. No, and then so I'm going to say, now you're just going to pull yourself through, and I'll get completely neutral, pull my fins together and flat out behind me, and I'm just going to start crawling my way through this ridiculously beautiful and delicate section right here. You're going to come past a whole flowstone on your left-hand side that's got helicmites. So we've talked about helictites, the ones in the ceiling that are all curly.
Yeah.
So helicmites are actually curly ones that grow up off of a floor.
Wow.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's microbially driven, correct. Yeah.
What?
And so we want to make sure that our left tank doesn't hit those. So we'll kind of rotate a little bit, and we're just going to keep crawling through. Once we get past that little flow, then we're going to get into this room just filled with these thin, small columns. They're all about 1 inch or 2 inches in diameter, and they're everywhere. And you're just going to pick your way through. Only go where the line goes. Okay. Don't go off the line and try to cut across between them or anything like that. And you're going to see that it makes a hard left-hand turn in that little column room. And what you're going to see is you're going to see me ball up. I'm going to pull my legs up under my knees, and I'm going to make a rotation, and I'm going to make that 90-degree turn to the left. Okay. And that's because there are columns out to the right that if I stayed full length, I would just mow them down as I made the turn. And then we're just going to finger crawl and do tiny little frog kicks or tiny little shuffle kicks through this beautiful area full of little spaghetti helictites and stuff. It's very cool. And then that's going to end in a hole. The line's going to dive up through a hole and then come up into a tiny little chamber. And I'm going to go through that, and I'm going to pull myself all the way to the left-hand side of that chamber. Next person comes up and sits right next to me, just bumping right up against me. And then you'll be third again. So you're going to come up, there's a ledge right there, and the line makes a 90-degree on that ledge, and that's also where cookie number 8 is. Okay. You're going to come up and lay on that ledge. And in front of us will be the gray pool, which will be unbelievable. It's going to be amazing. So it's a crystal pool with big rimstone dams. It's about 10 by 6.
Wow.
And all the crystals are like a charcoal gray color. That's because they're covered in microbes that are actually consuming the crystal right now.
When we do that part, will you guys give me just like 10 or 20 seconds of maybe putting your lights, because it'll just burn out, and just let me use the wide? Just 20 seconds.
Video that, yeah.
It'll be really cool to video that.
For sure. No problem at all. So once we get to there, and we've all seen it we'll do 2 or 3 minutes there, and just check it out. There's beautiful crystal rimstone dams in the pool. And then I'm going to say, are you guys okay to continue a little bit more? So we got about another 2-minute swim if you want to go just a little bit further. but it's going to be super. It's going to be super delicate. Okay. We're at that point. We're gonna you're gonna see me do a fly walk on the right hand wall over the pool, making sure my leg doesn't hang down to touch it, and that I'm high enough off that my tank won't touch that pool. We don't want to break those crystals in the thing. And you'll just watch me kind of fly walk into the next little passage. Okay. When I get to the next passage, I'll actually climb up a little bit. And let's see, where are we here? That's the pool. Pools right there. Okay, so then the line stays on the floor, but I'm gonna wait until I hear somebody right behind me, and you're gonna see me go up into the top of the passage, because if you try to go along the floor, I need to actually move that line, and I need to pull it up higher in the passage, because that's where we can go through without hurting anything. You'll see one little piece, one little style about this big that's already been broken, and it's laying across, hitting the wall like this. So we're going to want to be up there, and then we fall into bigger passage on the other side, and then we're going to very carefully swim over to this very silty floor. The first two of us are going to come in. The second person is going to lay right next to me, okay? And the third person is going to wait until I show the second person, and then I'm going to move out of the way. The second person moves over a little bit. It's all these thin soda straws with spaghetti halictites growing all next to them. And some of them are coated with that black organic material, that black microbes. So I'll move out of the way, and then the next person can come past me as I come in, and then they can turn around and lay on the floor and look at those things too. Okay?
Cool.
We want to try, since you're third and you're going to do the video, we want to try when we leave that room not to silt it up at all, so he's got clear water to shoot them, so you can stick your head close to them and find something to hold on to, so you can put your camera right in there like that. And then we're just going to turn around and we're going to come all the way back out the same exact way, very carefully. So this is kind of getting you guys ready for Glass Factory. All right, so there's that small passage, having to be careful, have your head on a swivel a lot, that kind of thing. 75 feet, and we should turn at 50 to 60 minutes, and then it's the same amount of time coming back out. Okay. There's a lot of things I'll show you on the way back out, because of the angles and the size of the passage, we weren't able to see them from the other side, and they're awesome. They're just amazing from the other direction.
Awesome.
Pretty sure I'm gonna run out of battery again on my video camera.
Yeah, for sure.
This one's gonna be pretty epic. I'm gonna wait till we get more, probably in this area. Yeah. Because that sounds like the most decorated areas.
Yeah. So starting from the Sanity Room, starting from the Sanity. Oh, on the way back, when we come back to the Miho's Mansion leg right here, I'm gonna say stay where you guys are, and I'm gonna jump off to the side and light something up that's very cool. Awesome. And then I'll come back onto the main line.
Okay.
All right. On the way back, it's all pretty much the same stuff. I may stop and do a little dog and pony show with some Sahara dust on the floor there. Depends on how fast the current is running. If the current doesn't run, this stuff it's a lot more effective. It actually wisps and does all that stuff. If the current's running, it just all gets blown out.
Yeah.
So depends on how far it's running, how fast it's running.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. So 75 feet for probably get back to the entrance at 100 minutes, 110 minutes, and then a little deco. There won't be too much deco on this because we're only at 75 feet.
Amazing.
All right.
Very awesome, man. Yes.
2-hour dive.
Yeah, but it's what we're diving. That's just incredible.
And that was it. How much of that do you remember on a scale from 1 to 10? It's pretty complicated, right? There's a lot of intricacies there. Obviously, always blown away by his briefings, and the dive that we did a couple days after that, which was a 3-hour long dive, was even more extensive. We didn't record that one, but it was like over 30 minutes long, and we love it. And I hated that Brian always starts his briefing with like, I hate, guys, I know you're going to not like this, or, I hate that it's too long, but I really got to do it. No, Brian, do it. Like, we love it. We absolutely love it. And if you're a diver, you feel like, I'm ready. What am I doing here? Why am I watching this? Let's go diving, because that's how I feel. I want to go diving right now after watching that briefing. I hope you enjoyed it. But once again, comment below. How much on a scale from 1 to 10 do you remember from the briefing? And also, do you enjoy videos like this? Should I do more? Should we record more of the things that happen around the dive? Not just the dive, but like the briefing, the setup, the going into the cave part, right? Several people ask me, how come you never record going from like the surface all the way down to the cave? The videos that we see, you're already in the cave. We want to go with you on the dive. And, you know, it gives me some ideas, but let me know what you think. And just in case you didn't see the actual dive that happened after the briefing, I'm going to link it and leave it right here. Now you guys can enjoy it. 51 plus minutes of diving to the Sanity Room and beyond. And we'll see you in the next one.